Good morning, 7 minutes after 10 on Radio 1, 103.5 FM. It's NECA Voice of Business, where you hear enlightened discussions on everything that has to do with the business environment in Nigeria. My name is Alawumi Akon. It's good to welcome you back here once again to talk. You know, everybody loves business. Everybody likes to do business. Business makes the world go round. Business gives you that extra oomph that you need every day. And we need it in our economy. Without businesses, I don't know what will have happened. I don't even know if there's a world that exists without some form of business. Welcome to the show once again. It's NECA Voice of Business on Radio 1, 103.5 FM. Now, we all, at some point in our lives, work. We either work for ourselves or work for companies. Now, sometimes the relationship between the owners of the business and the employees may not be as smooth as you want it to be. Sometimes it is very smooth. The relationship between the two goes a long way to determine the success or the failure of the business as a whole. Now, today we've been looking, and given this present economy, everything is just so hard. Everything is just difficult for both business owners and for workers. So today we are going to talk about managing employee motivation in this economic uncertainty. We don't know what's happening. So how are our bosses, how are business owners encouraging their employees, and how are employees dealing with their management also? To help the discussion, I have Mr. Yemi Faseun. He is the Chief Talent Officer, YF Talent Partners. Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Nice to see you.
Nice to have you here.
Thanks
also.
for inviting me to your studio. Thanks.
Pleasure anytime.
Sure.
Now, so we're talking about employers and their employees. If you want to look at our business environment in Nigeria today, how would you rate this relationship between the two?
It's not generally very smooth at the moment. It's been a couple of months of roller coaster events. And this is not just a local phenomenon. Even globally, things are all over the place. If you come home, last year, I think since about November, we ended the year with the fuel crisis.
Yeah.
We were looking around chasing fuel. And then we go into the year 2023, Naira was chasing Naira. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The redesignation of the Naira notes, and it was a tough period. Tough period for the business, all businesses, and also tough period for employees as well. And then we go into the second quarter, change of government, subsidy gone, and then unification of the exchange rate. So it's been not too easy moments, like you said, moments of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And this is not just limited to any sector or any industry area. It's everywhere. It's in banking, it's in telco, it's in the civil service. I mean, some states said that you could now come to work 3 times a week. I think that was Kwara State. Just everybody finding ways to adjust to the new abnormal, so to speak.
All right, I like that. New abnormal. Yeah. It is abnormal. It is a strange time for everybody. Yeah. Now, in case you're listening for the first time, the number to call into is 0813 331 3172. 0813 331 3172. If you have an issue about your workplace, talk to us. Ask questions, and we're here to answer them for you. I think in Nigeria generally, let's start with employers. What are some of the challenges employers face with employees these days?
Number one, Japa. We are not going to run away from that. Yeah. So we have a couple of clients we work with right now, and that's number one thing on their list.
Everybody has gone.
People are leaving, and again, it tends to plateau about this time of the year, because schools offshore will be resuming in September, so everybody is leaving now. So one of the things that I have seen, and I'm going to probably capture this around Employee Chronicles sometime soon, is that employees just leave without putting employers at times in a very good space for transition to happen. So one client of mine just said to me that last week somebody resigned, and he resigned from the US. Took the laptop with him, got an employee loan in June, took the laptop, got his leave allowance and all that, and resigned from the US. So it's a lot of not too great um, instances of relationship between employers and employees at the moment. And I'm not saying this is everywhere, but we have instances of that here and there. So it's not such a good time for the employer as well. So I'm going to be speaking from both perspectives,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
employee and the employer. So Japa is number one. Cost of doing business is number two. It's the fuel situation is affecting businesses as well. The unification of the dollar exchange windows. I mean, the price of things just like doubled
Yeah.
overnight since about
Tripled
May,
in
June.
some cases.
Tripled, maybe. So it's really a tough time. It's really a tough.
So how are all these things you mentioned, like the price of diesel, the foreign exchange, how is it affecting the way the employer is reacting to the employee?
Creative ways. I mean, the employee is saying that, hey, if I go to market with the same 100 naira that I had in January, it won't buy me exactly the same thing. So what are you going to do, employer, to increase my salary or make my life better? And then the employer is saying, well, I'm actually not in a better place as well. I'm not making as much as I was making because the cost of doing my business has gone up. So a lot of conversations are going on at the moment, but the point is we need to find creative ways, not necessarily in naira and kobo terms, but creative ways to make sure that the relationship is still smooth. Employees are happy to come to work, and employers are also, they still remain a going concern, because it's only when the company remains a going concern that it's able to either pay salaries or increase salaries. So creative conversations everywhere.
But would you say there's kind of any level of trust between employers and employees?
That's, I mean, interesting. This is exactly what I wrote about on my LinkedIn page, I think, on Monday this week. Leadership and trust. The trust index, this is from my perspective, I may be wrong, I don't have concrete data, but based on conversations, the trust index is quite low.
So
at
who
the
doesn't
moment.
trust who now?
Both sides. I mean, see, the employer who sees a resignation email
From
from
the US.
from the US, and the guy is gone with my laptop. How is it not going to be looking at other members of staff and thinking who's going next? That's number one. And then also the inconsistencies on the part of leadership. Leadership saying we don't have money to increase salaries or adjust XYZ. However, we see that for the leadership or executive management team, nothing has changed. The allowances are still the same. They're still changing their Land Cruisers and all that, but we're saying that it's no money. So it's on both sides. For us to be able to have that that level of trust between both parties. Number one, from the employee perspective, we need a change of mindset towards the business.
That's the employee now.
The employees, yeah. We need a change of mindset. Let's not make all the asks about ourselves alone. Let's put the business in the equation. And also for the employers, they also need to know that communication is important. The consistency of our actions very important. Empathy at this point is very important. At times, you might not even increase salaries, but if you communicate well and you empathize with the employees, we just need to find beyond naira and kobo means of bringing both parties together.
Okay, so I know we've talked about this a little, kind of
Yeah.
brazed over it, but I would like us to, especially in this economic climate, to kind of list out. And that's where you come in. If you're listening, as I said, you could list out some of the issues you're facing currently at your workplace. Maybe that the economic situation is not helping out and you want like a change. 0813 331 3172. 0813 331 3172. So, from, as you said, from discussions and conversations you've had, especially recently, what are some of the things that some employees would like to see to show that, okay, I'm getting a fair deal, or at least the company is empathizing with me?
Right. Well, I mean, conversations have been ongoing around cost of living adjustment, and some organizations have done that already. I had a kind of informal survey within my communities about 2-3 days ago, asking individuals within the communities to tell me what salary increases they've enjoyed this year from a cost of living adjustment perspective, between 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and it varies, of course, based on the affordability of the organization. So many organizations, I must say, have done some sort of cost of living adjustment already. Employees are expecting that. Not every organization has done it, but so many organizations have done that, and that's a form of a response, positive response from the organizations. Some have said we didn't think remote work was possible, but right now we are being forced to look at that option. So we're seeing more organizations doing hybrid sort of come to work 2 or 3 days in a week and then work from home for the rest of the week. We also have seen some people move from hybrid to almost fully remote. I know about 2 or 3 instances like that where people have moved to fully remote, and all in a bit to say, yes, we may not be able to afford to increase salaries based on cost of living adjustment, but at least we will reduce the expenses of commuting on the part of our employees. That's true. I've also seen an instance where an organization said, oh, okay, we might not have the money to buy staff buses and employ drivers and all that, but let's plug into a service provider like shuttlers. And that's to say that, oh, I've got 20 employees and I can buy 20 seats on shuttler buses for a month or for 3 months and all that, and they cover different routes within Lagos. So more employers are plugging into service providers like shuttlers. So those are 3 instances, and one of my clients just said to me yesterday that he bought a staff bus of 22 million naira just to supplement what they had before, because more employees are now saying, I want to drop my car at home so that I can commute with my colleagues. So organizations are responding, right? It might not be enough. There might be a lot more to do. And we might start looking also beyond the monetary responses as well, which I will talk about later. But I must say that so many organizations are responding positively to the situation.
Okay, that's good. No, so let's jump back a little bit and go back to the trust issue that we talked about.
Right.
What is it that caused, if you go on social media online, if you read a lot of write-ups like yours sometimes, you see a lot of people coming to complain about HR this, management this, a lot of this. So what is causing this breach of trust? What are some of the most common things that makes people like jackpot without giving due notice?
HR is the whipping boy in any organization. When things are not going right, it's HR. When everything is going right, it's never HR. So we are used to, some say that HR is a thankless job. But back to it, why do we have such a gap in terms of the trust index between employers and employees? I mean, experience over the years around culture and employee experience. So let me also say that this might not be the case in the instance that I quoted, the guy resigning from offshore, but it's typically a response or reaction from the younger generation in terms of the way they've been treated over the years. You know, there is no reaction in a vacuum. There must be an action and then reaction. So how was I treated in the 2 years or 3 years or 5 years that I was in the organization? What was my employee experience? What was my leadership transaction experience on a daily basis, to the point where I don't care anymore. Whatever they want to do, let them do. You know? So that employee experience is extremely important, and it ties back to culture and leadership.
Okay.
So if leaders are not connected, if they don't show empathy to employees, we're likely to see more of responses or reactions like that. So for trust to be on the trustiness to be on the high side, we need a lot of new leadership competencies in the now of work. How we led people in the last generations cannot be the same way we're going to lead the Gen Zs and the millennials. It will not be the same way. So we need to switch. We need to make a switch in terms of how we're managing today's workforce. Today's workforce is more knowledgeable. Today's workforce is global in orientation. Today's workforce is, they know what's happening by the minute. You know what I mean? And they're not therefore going to respond the way the older generation responded. And another thing is they have more options. they have more options. Rather than go to work and face leadership bullies on a daily basis, they rather probably just look for something to do. They'll be virtual assistants, they'll be photographers, they'll be face beaters, they'll do guillotine at events and all that. They'll do TikToking, they'll do content creators. Those are options available, and there's so many of them who are doing all of that and they're successful and making money. So because of the available options in the now of work, we need to lead them differently and give them a better experience. If they don't get that, they will react. They will either go to another organization, they will go home, they're not paying rent yet anyway, or ultimately they'll japa. That's the reality. So a lot is about the experience that we daily give to them in the workplace.
Okay, let's list some of these toxic management styles.
Bullies, I've mentioned one in passing. I mean, we have leadership bullies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have leaders who do not communicate very well. There needs to be a balance between courage and, by definition, courage to ask that the job is done, and also on the other side, the human side of things. We need to balance it. So with me, it's raining and you come to work maybe late, maybe an hour late, and the first thing I ask is, why are you late? What's going on? There's no empathy in that conversation, and the guy is looking at himself, or the lady, I'm saying, I'm drenched.
Obviously,
the first thing is you ask me is, how are you? So we need to balance the conversations. We need to balance the way we give experiences to people. Yes, the job needs to be done, but also within the fray, you can't take or isolate the individual. So connectedness, so humility, empathy, all of that are the things that people say are missing in today's workforce. And can I tell you why? Okay, this is again based on conversations, experiences, working with clients, and it's because we've moved too many people into leadership positions too quickly without getting them
too quickly
into leadership positions without getting them ready for leadership responsibilities.
Okay.
So they could do the job technically, they could get results for the organization, we promoted them. The next performance management cycle, they did very well, outstanding performance. What do? We give them more money and we promote them, but nobody is getting them ready to the point where they'll start leading or managing people. So they've been doing technically great in stuff over the years, and then we now say, oh, be a team lead, be an HOD, be head of the department and all that, and then we found out that they don't know how to manage people. And therefore the instances of leadership failure are always there. So we need to take 1, 2, 3 steps back to not look at things in isolation and just say toxicity, the environment is not good, employee experience. What did we do? How did we get here? And for me, it's because we promoted people too quickly into leadership positions without getting them ready. So the conversations we are having right now is to go back to organizations to say, let's talk leadership. And let's not wait until they become leaders, even at levels of team lead or supervisors, before we start getting them ready. Once we identify that they might be on the trajectory to become leaders in the organizations, let's start getting them ready. Yeah, supervisory skills, managerial skills, people management skills, and all that. If we can plug that gap a lot and get people ready, another thing that I see, and this is not me trying to throw a shit at anyone, is that we also have a generation managing organizations, and yes, they could raise money. They could raise money to run the organization, but yes, very adept at raising money, but not great at raising people or managing people.
How did that happen?
Oh, because I mean, technology, fintech, and just give you an example, everything is tech driven. And once you can put a deck together and do a sales speech, you will raise money. You see what I mean? So technically, again, very good, and they're therefore able to raise money and start building organizations. But the fundamentals of leading people or leading organizations are not there. It takes experience, it takes a while, but again, they become founders and co-founders and leading the business, and then they want to scale the business, but scaling the business is not the same thing as scaling people or managing people. So the gap is also always obvious.
Okay, so let's go straight to steps that the management can take now. considering the economic environment, to even no, before even we get there, we need to build the trust.
Yeah.
In the first place. So you've talked quite extensively about some of the things that management needs to do. Where does the employee come in here?
Yes, I mean, I talk about the employee chronicles as well because, but the fact is, employees will respond to external stimuli, so to say. It is a most often than not, it's a reaction to what they see. So if we can make some changes on the side of leadership or employers around culture, employee experience, empathy, and all that, I am of the opinion that the workforce will respond positively as well.
Okay.
So we need to take 2-3 steps back to look at our communication styles. Are we bullying people because we want them to achieve results and we want them to respond? I mean, there'll be compliance rather than discretionary effort to do the job if communication is not set in the right tone.
Yeah, okay, but you have some arguments that will tell that's babying people to do their jobs. I think on this show a few weeks ago we had people who came in and had callers to who were complaining about the attitude and the kind of workforce that we have now. So I guess how do we get the balance between you have to do this work? It is not baby play. It's not come is what I feel like today or something. You can't have that attitude to work all the time. And then how do we balance that with the management being okay? Let me be empathetic to you, but I can't take this from you. How do we get that balance?
It's again, a friend of mine taught me the principle of the power